So as we all know, Sonic 1 sold a metric ton of copies and went on to be a huge success and be a massive boost in profits for Sega. And what do companies do when they wind up with a popular IP? They make sequels, of course, and Sonic's case is no exception, giving us Sonic the Hedgehog 2, released in November of 1992. This is a game that's considered to be one of the best Sonic games, if not games in general. Now, do I agree with the insanely high praise this game gets? Let's find out. Same deal as last time, in my last Sonic retrospective. I'm going to go through each zone in order and pointing out things that I like and dislike about them, as well as general features of the game. Now, before we get into the game proper, I thought it would be worth going a little bit into my personal history with Sonic 2, as I didn't get that chance to do so with Sonic 1, since I didn't play it until much later in life. I was about 5 or 6 when I went over to my cousin's house one time. He had a Mega Drive and I didn't. This is when he put on Sonic 2, and this was the first time I was introduced to Sonic as a whole. We played together for a little while. I don't remember much aside from Emerald Hill and not being able to get past the Rising Water and Chemical Plant Zone. But I remember having fun. Not much aside from that, but I don't care if that's a little tangent. It's my video. I wanted to mention it. To be honest, there's not much I can say about Emerald Hill Zone that I haven't said in my Sonic 1 video when I looked over Green Hill Zone. So instead of going over the same points about that level, except this level is bigger and a bit better, I think. I want to go over some of the changes Sonic 2 made to the gameplay that pretty much improves upon the base that Sonic 1 made in just about every way. The biggest and best change to the gameplay that's been made in Sonic 2? The spin dash. By holding down and pressing A, Sonic revs up in a ball that takes off in a burst of speed. A big issue that was present in some of Sonic 1's level design was around that philosophy of using the terrain to gain momentum. Sometimes there just wasn't a convenient way to build up speed, making some relatively simple tasks harder than they needed to be. However, with the inclusion of the spin dash, the developers didn't need to worry about putting places where you can try to gain momentum, allowing for more creative and varied level design. You may also notice in this footage, particularly in this level, that I'm doing a lot of looking around and backtracking. This is due to some of the changes of this game's special stages, and this is mostly for the better too. Instead of special stages only being accessible at the end of a level if you have 50 rings or more like in Sonic 1, in Sonic 2 you still need to have at least 50 rings, but now at any checkpoint. Stand next to it for a few seconds and you'll be taken to a special stage, the Half Pipe, where you have to collect a certain amount of rings in order to obtain the now 7 Chaos Emeralds. Now this special stage is a huge improvement over Sonic 1, but that's like saying getting stabbed is a huge improvement over getting hit by a car. Like, there's not much competition there, mate, neither are really great. Shitty analogy aside, the half-pipe is better, but not by much. In my opinion, the controls on this do feel a bit too slippery, and when they introduce the bombs into courses, you usually struggle to see them coming until you're about to hit them. Another big annoyance is the inclusion of newcomer Tails. Now, Tails in the levels is absolutely fine. He's completely non-intrusive, and if you plug a second player slot in, then Tails can be controlled with no detriment to player 1's experience. The same can't be said in the special stages though. The AI copies your movements and can pick up rings. However, the AI won't copy your movements until a few seconds later, meaning in special stages not only do you have to focus on your own movements but the AI's as well, meaning pretty much you have to know the stages off by heart and everything that's coming if you want to keep your rings intact. Moreover, well, in this series I try not to reference later games as I don't feel like it's fair to compare titles that haven't been made yet when I'm looking at a particular game, but so many Sonic games rip off the half-pipe specifically for special stages for some reason, and I don't understand why. Like, I get it. It's nostalgia, but it was never that good in the first place, but at least there are a couple that handle the style better. Sonic Heroes and Sonic Colors on the DS comes to mind when I bring up this example. I'll stop complaining about the special stages now, but I have brought them up for a reason, but we'll cover why a little bit more when we get into the next stage, Chemical Plant Zone. Now, if you watched the Sonic 1 video I did previously, you'd remember that there are two particular zones that modern day Sega have a ridiculous hard-on for. Welcome to that zone, and like in Green Hill, as sick as I am of seeing this level in modern Sonic games, it's still hella fun to play in its debut game, I have to admit. I think the reason Chemical Plant is so beloved is partly due to its spectacle factor. There are a good few portions of this level that really show how much faster this game is compared to its predecessor, and some points where the screen struggles to keep up with Sonic as he races through the zone, and it's hard not to enjoy every second of it. Like Emerald Hill, it's spacious, fun to explore, and it offers plenty of rewards for doing so. To continue what I discussed earlier regarding special zones, there is an actual reason for going through them this time apart from the flowers at the end of an ending screen. Collecting all 7 Chaos Emeralds allows you to turn into Super Sonic. Once collected, all you need to do is get 50 rings and jump, and you're completely invincible from enemies and your speed is increased even further. Although I'd argue the way you collect them is pretty flawed, I can't deny the reward for doing it is well worth it. However, I do like that when you go after them is entirely dependent on when the player decides to. The game rewards curious players who scours the level for rings and checkpoints, meaning that if you're dedicated enough, you can get Super Sonic by the second zone of the game. It's all dictated by the agency of the player, and that's something that I absolutely love. Now moving on, this brings us to the next zone of the game, Aquatic Ruin Zone. So this is a zone that I personally really love, and the reason for that is I believe this to be a water level done right in a Sonic game. Crazy concept, I know. Instead of forcing you to slug through a water maze like in Labyrinth Zone, water is used more so as a punishment for falling off the higher route. The better you play, the better the chance you won't need to interact with the underwater portion of the level at all. But if you get hit or make a mistake, then you'll need to get through the slower route in an attempt to get yourself back up to the more rewarding higher route. It keeps the player thinking and engaged through the level while keeping things fun and entertaining still. Not to mention the backdrops look particularly nice in this level. The game looks great even today overall, but for some reason the lush greenery the zone presents really stands out in my mind. Oh, and the music. Like most Sonic games, the soundtrack in Sonic 2 is fantastic all around, and there are many iconic tracks that come from this game, Chemical Plants theme being one of them for example. However, Aquatic Ruins theme is pretty underrated I think. I have no clue why it's not mentioned more because this song is an absolute banger all around. Alright, so you guys really want to know how Sonic 2 was a big step up from Sonic 1? They remembered to actually make their casino themed stage casino themed, and they remembered to make it fun. Now this stage is the reason why almost every Sonic game has a casino themed stage, and the one that started the trend certainly does not disappoint. The music's fantastic, the backdrop again looks amazing, and as the level is so large and to an extent open-ended, it means that when you get bounced all over the place, it's actually a lot of fun this time around. As well as this level is a great opportunity for struggling players to get more lives, but at a cost. Like real casinos. You can gamble on the giant slot machine for a chance for a huge payout of rings, or get them all taken away from you if you're unlucky. I feel like this stage may have started a lot of gambling addictions from a young age potentially, but who knows, it is what it is. On a slightly lighter topic, as it's the first zone where I use it in my footage, I want to talk about Super Sonic for a little bit more, namely the way he's activated. As I mentioned before, all you need to do is get 50 rings and jump in the air, however this presents a little bit of a problem. It's whenever you jump. In all future Sonic games, you have to press another button in order to activate Super Sonic. Sometimes it is more advantageous to stay as normal Sonic, or even if you just don't want to at that moment, but in Sonic 2, you have no choice in the matter, and that sadly puts a bit of a downer on such a cool power-up, I reckon. Now, Hilltop Zone is probably what I view to be the worst zone so far that we've talked about. Now, I don't think it's a bad level per se, I don't really have that much negative to say about it really. I think it's because every zone so far has been consistently really good. I guess it's just unfortunate that this is the first mediocre zone of the game so far. I'd say my biggest criticism of this zone is sometimes it can be pretty glitchy, especially with some large drops in the rising lava set pieces. Although there isn't much in my footage aside from clipping into a ring box, I can say that from experience the game has killed me from jumping from a large height but not into a bottomless pit, and certain sections in the lava rising set piece where the game can trap you in particular sections and it just kills you when there was a chance to get away. As I said, this isn't in my footage, but I'm speaking from personal experience with this level in the past. One thing I will say though is the music from the zone is fucking terrible. The starting notes are especially ear grating. I don't know why, but whatever noise it is to me sounds like if a balloon could feel pain and you just kicked it, like you just full on booted it. That's what I think the zone music sounds like. Very disappointing considering the music so far has been so well done, and it's really a shame. Oh well, one positive straight off the bat, we're back to something that can be considered music, rather than the screams of the damned. Whilst I enjoy this level more than Hilltop Zone overall, Mystic Cave Zone is another level I find to be just alright, I think. It's certainly not a bad level, but it's nothing great in my opinion, and my reasoning for this is just how many traps are placed all over. To a much lesser extent, I have the same criticism of the zone that I have for the later special stages, where in some places, it does feel like the only way to avoid taking hits is having a knowledge of what's coming beforehand and being able to plan accordingly. A kind of trial and error gameplay that I'm personally not much of a fan of in Sonic games specifically, but this is very much a personal preference in regards to Mystic Cave for me. One thing I will give this zone shit for, however, is the infamous Spike Pit. In Act 2, there's a certain pit where you have no way whatsoever of getting out of, and it's what I feel is relatively easy to fall into. Now, if you're regular Sonic, you'll lose all your rings on the first hit and then die instantly. Frustrating, but I suppose at least it's over quickly. If you're Supersonic though, you have to wait until all of your rings run out. I have no clue why this is in here. It's just really poor, shitty level design that should just be replaced with the shortcut to Hidden Palace Zone that for some reason is only on mobile ports. It honestly should just be on every port going forward. There's no reason for this bit to be here other than the sole purpose of pissing off people. I know this topic is somewhat beaten to death, like I want to do to this goddamn pit, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on now. Oil Ocean again is another zone I find to be really mediocre, and probably my least favourite zone so far. Again, this level isn't really terrible. This series and this game specifically definitely have worse to offer, which we'll get to soon enough, but the biggest problem I have with this area is just that it can be pretty goddamn boring. Whilst I praise pretty much every level for their spacious nature, I find Oil Ocean to be a bit too big and spacious. There's quite a lot of patches of nothing or places where it's just spikes and literally nothing else. Nothing really exciting or interesting or setting my world alight really, Oil Ocean. It has a couple of concepts which had potential. I like the lids that fly high up in the air and the green cannons that shoot you around, but they're not used very often or in interesting ways. To bring up a later Sonic game that remedies a lot of the issues I have with this, Sonic Mania's rendition of Oil Ocean Zone fixes a lot of the issues I have and makes the level much more varied and interesting to go through. So I think that definitely does prove this zone has potential, it just sadly wasn't taken advantage as much as it could have in this specific entry. Remember how I was talking earlier about how the worst this game had to offer was yet to come? Well, here we are. This is by far the worst zone in the game and what I view to be the only really bad level in Sonic 2. Yes, it's difficult, but its difficulty doesn't come from clever design or interesting challenge. It's just really fucking tedious, and for whatever reason they decided to give their worst zone in the game 3 acts. Why does it have to be 3 acts? Just to really let it sink in how shit this level is? Whilst the progression can be a little bit confusing, overall it's nothing you can't handle at this point. It's the enemies that make this zone truly miserable. While yes, the praying mantis with the homing missile arms are annoying as fuck, I don't think the starfish get enough credit on how horrible and detestable they are. Specifically when you're running in place on one of the screws, if you're in their line of sight there's nothing you can do apart from get hit or jump and lose progress. There's so many examples of tedious design choices like this that only serve to waste your fucking time. Yes, it's really unenjoyable just all around, honestly. Like, the only thing this zone has going for it is the music. I'll admit, yes, the theme is a bit of a bop, but the rest of the zone is just straight trash. Since these next 2 levels are so intertwined, I decided I'm going to talk about both of them in one section. I find Sky Chase Zone to be a really nice change of pace. It acts as more of a traditional side-scrolling sort of level, and it really works well. I think the reason as to why this is mainly due to how Tails and his playing are implemented into the level. It acts as more or less as an extension of Sonic's existing moveset. The plane moves at the same pace you do, meaning there's very little risk of falling or going too far ahead when jumping on enemies, allowing the player to put their focus on surviving and beating the enemies. Not to mention the music in this section is just really nice. It feels like a victory lap and you're on the home stretch to beating the game. Also, just as a little side note, I thought that the transition into Wing Fortress Zone from Sky Chase Zone was a cutscene, so I just sat there waiting for Sonic to just like automatically jump on the platform, only to realize way too late I had to do it and I died. I don't know why I felt compelled to bring that up, aside from thinking me being a dumbass was a little bit funny. Wing Fortress is another one of those just alright levels in my opinion. Aside from it being a bit of a mystery on where to go from time to time, it's pretty inoffensive. The only thing I really want to bring up is the music. I've been thinking for a good like 10 minutes on how to describe it now, and the only thing I can think of to say about it is it sounds like someone tried to make like a Donkey Kong Country song, but really bad. That aside, Sonic jumps on a rocket into space and we get to the Death Egg Zone. This is less of a zone and more of a hallway with two bosses in it, so while I'm at it, I'm going to talk about the bosses in this game as a whole. Simply put, they're an absolute joke. These last two bosses are also an absolute joke, but at your expense. Yes, Sega. .gov are watching, and they're laughing at you. The only reason these bosses are even remotely difficult is because it gives you no rings whatsoever. Wait, that's not what Metal Sonic looks like. Metal Sonic's the little blue fella. Who's this guy? I'll look this up. Hold on. Metal Sonic in Sonic 2. Mecha Sonic. Fucking hell. So this is Mecha Sonic. And he's actually a decent boss. It has more or less the same skill set as Sonic, but like I say, this zone doesn't give you any rings. It means you can't make any mistakes whatsoever. So after you learn the patterns and beat this boss, you also have to defeat the Death Egg robot, and like I said, this fight is also frustrating since you're not allowed to make a single mistake, or it's back to the start for you. This fight even more so, as I'm going to be honest, years and years on from playing this game for the first time, and the hitboxes still confuse me from time to time. It's very easy to jump on a section that seems safe to damage, but the game just decides, no, death for you, sunshine. But after getting through this pain in the arse of a fight, congratulations, Sonic 2 has now been beaten. After playing the game again, I noticed that Sonic 2 has the same issue Sonic 1 has, but to a much lesser extent. The first half of the game is absolutely fantastic, but once we get to Hilltop Zone and beyond, I can see the quality of the game slowly but surely starting to dip. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, Sonic 2 was my first exposure to Sonic, like, ever, and by extension that's the first Sonic game that I ever played, but sometimes you just have to face facts, and overall there are a few parts of this game that are just goddamn stanky bad. Do I think this is a good game overall? Yes, I do. Do I think it's the best Sonic game, 2D or otherwise, or even one of the best games of all time? Hell no. There's too many parts of this game that I find questionable for me to do so. And that's my take on Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I want to thank you all for watching. My next vid is probably going to be on Sonic CD, which will be interesting because I've never played Sonic CD before. But until next time, like I say, thank you for watching. Have a good one.